Hello, everyone, and welcome again on this live. I am Riga, a dog behavior specialist, and I am organizing this year's Pet Dog Trainers of Europe Annual Conference and AGM in Riga, in Latvia. This conference will take place on end of September 26 and till 28 September. And because September actually is coming soon enough, I've been hosting series of live conversations with our conference speakers to introduce them, their work, and the topics they will be presenting in our conference. And today's conversation is about a topic that many people may never heard before, and it's about applied zoopharmacognosy. When a dog is fearful, anxious, and overwhelmed, our first instinct is often ask, how do we stop the behavior? But we want to say to you and tell you to ask different questions. How and what does this dog need to feel safe? Why is he being anxious or stressed or showing some signs of reactivity or aggression? So today we will be exploring really interesting approach and really, I think, useful approach. And I have took course and used it also to my dog, but we will get into it. That combines applied zoopharmacognosy, thoughtful training, and deep understanding of dog emotions. So I'm really delighted to welcome today our guest and one of the conference speakers, Jenny Golsby from Australia. Hello, Jenny.
Hello there.
Yeah. I will tell that your conference main topic and your speech will be working with big emotions in dogs, where applied zoopharmacognosy meets thoughtful training. And Jenny will join this conference like online from Zoom. We will put it together, so we are everybody there in Riga in the conference room, but we will look everybody together to her speech, and it will be really, really interesting. But that's why I want to give you a little hint what about Jenny will talk about. So thank you, Jenny, for meeting me here today. And maybe we can start by you introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about Journey and your work helping dogs with big emotions.
Thank you very much for having me. And thank you for inviting me to the conference, well, online. It's a bit of a shame I won't be coming to Latvia to see everybody, but at least we can still do it via Zoom. So as you mentioned, I'm in Australia, and I've spent many years, I don't think we really need to sort of say the number, but many of years working with dogs in my businesses. And I say businesses because I have a few. So the Complete Pet Company has been around for a very long time, and it focuses on nutrition, health, and behavior. And then I have Complete Canine Communication, which is the future of dog training, which I coined that because I really like the fact that training is not necessarily a word I like, but it's the future. It's what I like to look forward to in the world of dogs. And then more recently, I started the business Heal by Choice, Nature's Pharmacy, which is what we're talking about today, applied zoopharmacognosy, and also the naked harnesses and leads. So I have many different businesses that sort of all roll into one. So nutrition, health, behavior, the whole works. So like throughout my career, I've been increasingly interested in what actually lies beneath behavior, because I think a lot of the time we're sort of looking at behavior as what we're dealing with, but what is it that actually, lies beneath that? because behaviour is actually the visible expression of an invisible emotional state. And I think that's really important for us to remember, is that what we see on the outside is not necessarily what's going on in the inside. And of course, the more I became interested in the emotional side of things with dogs, that led me down another rabbit hole of studying applied zoopharmacognosy with Caroline Ingraham. And that was done over quite a number of years, doing different modules and then sitting for the final diploma. And I'm proud to say I was the first in Australia to actually receive that diploma, which was pretty exciting for me. And so today my work actually combines all of those areas of communication, understanding emotional states, thoughtful training for the guardian and the dog, and applied zoopharmacognosy. So I guess my passion really today is helping people to see behaviour differently, not as something to fix, but a valuable communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I guess
maybe
it's.
yeah, and if before we go deep dive in zoopharmacognosy, maybe you could explain what you mean by that, and what are some signals dogs use to communicate big emotions that people often overlook or misunderstand.
Yeah, so there are many signals and signs that dogs are actually giving on a regular basis, and we call them calming signals, right? They're some of the language that dogs are using. I actually like to call it harmonizing behaviors, because I feel that this language isn't just about calming, and sometimes the term calming signals gets misused out there, and people think that it's just about the dog trying to calm itself down, but it really is like a sophisticated communication system that the dogs are using. And of course, we know those behaviors. They're sort of things that we see, like lip licking, head turning, freezing, standing still, moving fast, moving slowly, not moving at all. There's many, many different behaviors that we see. Dogs that are shut down completely, dogs that are, frightened, all different things. And then we see bigger emotions as well, like freezing, growling, snapping, or biting. So they're the ones that sadly we misunderstand or punish for. And I think that's something that we see a lot of working with dogs, and understanding that sophisticated language is that it is misunderstood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is that way. I think that the calmer dog is and tries to communicate, there are a lot of people who doesn't see these signals.
Yeah.
And then when they see, they misread these signals and like understands them as bad behavior, but it's not. So yeah, that's really important to understand why this body language is so important.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
Yeah. So, okay, I want to go deeper in this applied zoopharmacognosy. So, this is really, I think, a new concept and topic for many people. So, maybe at first you could explain what it is and why you believe it can be such a valuable approach for supporting dogs experiencing fear, anxiety, stress, or aggressivity.
Yeah, so I guess in my work with the Complete Pet Company, I have a background in nutrition. I actually manufactured raw dog food for over 20 years. I've always been interested in homeopathics, essential oils, herbs, herbal tinctures. I do everything very naturally with my dogs, so I really don't use chemicals with my dogs. I worry very much about the chemical overload in animals. So for me, it was a really easy shift. A girlfriend of mine, Karen Webb, from Let Your Animal Lead, and she, a lot of people listening to this would know Karen. She's been around for a very long time. She pretty well introduced me to the side of zoopharmacognosy. So the actual term zoopharmacognosy, if we break it down into the Greek roots, the meaning is zoo, which means animal, pharmaco, which means medicine, remedies, or healing supplements, and then nosy, which is knowledge, understanding, or knowing. So zoopharmacognosy, okay, or nosy, cognosy.
Yes.
So it's animal, medicine, knowing. So that's been studied for many, many, many a year, watching animals in the wild instinctively select natural remedies for health and emotional state. So applied zoopharmacognosy, which is a little bit different, which is what I'm trained in, is actually the practice of where we carefully offer essential oils and herbs and hydrolats and other natural materials to domesticated or confined animals, so not wild animals. So that's the difference. Zoopharmacognosy is wild animals, and applied zoopharmacognosy is where you actually have somebody offering those medicinal compounds, because unfortunately in the world of our dogs, for example, but this goes for all animals that have been in captivity, they don't get the opportunity to actually select the plant material that they need to be able to heal themselves physically or emotionally. So that's sort of the background of applied zoopharmacognosy. And as a practitioner in the work, I've got a dog scratching at my chair here, Phyllis Lorraine. We don't actually diagnose, and we certainly don't force. We spend our time observing the animal and what they choose. So I always explain it to my new clients as the dog speaks to what I'm offering, and then those essential oils or herbs, hydrolats speak to me. So that gives me an idea of what the animal is looking for in those particular medicinal compounds.
Yeah, I actually think that we are talking about the same person, because before like 5 or 6 years, I took her course as well. There was a course by Karen. Yeah, that's when I was introduced to this topic, and I was like, oh my God, this is so interesting. And she showed us so many examples. So that's why I want to ask you as well. Could you maybe share some examples of how you work applying applied zoopharmacognosy to help a dog struggling emotionally?
Yeah, sure. Before I do that, I also just wanted to make it very, very clear here that with applied zoopharmacognosy, it doesn't replace the consulting work that we do or veterinary care. And that's really important for people to understand. So I'm very lucky. I work very closely with my veterinarian. She understands what I do, but we have this good respect. So it's really important that I just sort of put that in there, that it doesn't actually replace veterinary care. So how would I actually work with a dog with these big emotions? Yeah, well, that really depends. So I guess what I can do for you is sort of go through the stages of what that looks like, sort of draw a picture for you, because it really depends on the dog that I'm working with. But the first thing I always do, whether it's going to be with applied zoopharmacognosy or complete canine communication, the very first thing that I do is observe. I watch. Okay. I don't just take the dog into an area and start shoving oils down its nose. That would be a crazy thing to do. So I observe, and I do that from outside. I have an area I work from home. So we sit down and we just watch. and I watch the dog. And while I'm doing that, I'm also talking to the guardian. So I'm sort of finding out a little bit about, first of all, what their knowledge is of dogs, because that's very important for me to understand where they are, because there's no point in me talking up here if they're down here. So I observe and I ask a lot of questions. And those questions are always the 6 questions of investigation: who, how, where, when, why, what. So there's lots and lots of questions going on there. Once the dog has, I've watched how the dog is moving, how fearful it is, how curious it is, all those things that we would normally look at doing a consult. I then head inside into my healing hut, which is set up for dogs. It's got a beautiful big queen-sized human bed in there with doonas and pillows for the dog, and a nice bowl of water and a lounge for the human. And we sit down. Now, normally when I do my first consult, I tend to do it myself, and I let the guardian watch me, because we have to be very careful when we're offering the substances. Some dogs, for example, like your long-nosed dogs, you don't want to get too close to them with an essential oil. And then other dogs that have a very short nose, like the brackies, for example, they tend to shove their nose on an oil, so we've got to be careful of that. So I sort of watch what I'm doing and start to offer the oils or hydrolats or herbs to the dog with the guardian watching. I'm sort of working on my own little project at the moment, and I call that pathways and lanes. So that's very important when I'm working with the dogs. So the lanes that I work with the dogs actually represent the different groups of medicinal compounds that may have the similar qualities. So, for example, we're talking about those oils that could be for an emotional state, or oils that could be for pain, or, other types of things that are going on within the body. And then we have the pathways, and that would be the journey between those lanes. So, for example, every dog may start somewhere different. We may have a dog that is really, really overwhelmed, and so they may need oils to help regulate their system, okay, before they can start processing their emotions. And we could also have a very, very shut down dog that needs comforting oils to feel really comfortable and ready to move forward in their journey with the oils.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Liga? So lanes and pathways. So it's not a case of being prescriptive with the oils. It's a case of actually talking to the owner, finding out where the dog is, and then grouping those medicinal compounds together, offering them to the dog, and then working back from there as to, are they ready to move on? I liken it to hypnosis. It's sort of like with hypnosis, you start here and you work your way deeper.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just go in there with those big, heavy oils because the dog has a problem with separation-related issues. So you don't go in with that. You need to find out exactly where the dog is emotionally first. What do they need? Are they ready to accept the oils? Are they ready to accept me to work with them with the oils? So it really is about me finding out where that individual animal is and what pathway and lane they're going to take, like driving a car. Are they going to take that road, or are they going to take those pathways off somewhere else to come back onto that road?
Yeah. So I think this is really important what you said, because it's not that simple that you take just some oil and you know the meaning of it and then you just give and dog smells it, because it's really important to where you do it, when you do it. Do you understand body language to dog, and do you understand each oil or something else you are giving? It's really important, and it's not so easy. So that's why there are you and other specialists who do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of science behind it, but also I try not to get too caught up in that. Obviously, I've got my big spreadsheet that I've built with, with all the medicinal compounds and percentages and things that I'm working through myself. But the science is not important because the animals know the science. And that's the beautiful part about this, is that they know what they're looking for. And it could be that tiny little percentage in that bottle of oil that has 30, 40, 50, 300 medicinal compounds in it, but they're after that one particular medicinal compound in there. So, my job is to actually find out which lane and pathway we're working in, and then to be able to observe and watch. And that's the difficult bit, being able to look at the yes and no signals, look at when they're processing, and look when they've finished, when they've had enough. And so, a consult can last for 2 hours, or it could be half an hour. It really depends on how deep the dog wants to go, and what emotions come up, whether they want to deal with the pain. Is the pain more important to them than the emotional state, or is the emotional state overriding the pain? And it can get very confusing sometimes. It's not easy. It's really not easy. So, like you said, when I see on social media, when someone says, oh, I've got a dog that's frightened of thunderstorms, and someone comes on and says, oh, lavender's really great for that. It's calming. Rub lavender all over your dog. Well, lavender gives me a headache.
Yeah.
So if someone rubbed lavender all over me, it really would not be a good thing. So they can be very dangerous if they're used incorrectly. You have to really respect those oils.
Yeah. It's really also about giving the dog choice, which
Absolutely.
they have when they live without us. And that's it's why I think all of this conference, all the topics will, in every I think topic, we will hear the name of choice for dogs.
Choice. Yeah.
This is what we need for our dogs, the choice, especially if they're fearful, aggressive, or reactive. They need this choice. They need to make choices for themselves to feel better. And when people don't listen, their choice is to react. So that's why we need to listen more carefully.
Absolutely. We should never force. And it's such a fascinating practice with when I'm working with dogs that are coming back on a regular basis, and you think, okay, we're sort of getting somewhere, and then all of a sudden we can be working with emotional oils, and then all of a sudden they're turning around and sticking their backside in your face and saying, I want an oil here, at the base of my tail. And it's like, wow, they're pointing, they're showing you, they're just incredible. And it really is our job to be able to learn that. That's the hardest bit, I think, being able to read the dogs as to what they're telling us. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is really, really interesting topic, and I really can't wait for your presentation on September at the conference. So tell us and everybody else, what can this year's conference participants look forward to your conference presentation, and why they shouldn't miss your presentation?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they might want to. I don't know. It really depends where people's heads are, and understanding that applied zoopharmacognosy is not some riding on your broomstick, as Karen Webb would say. It really is a fascinating modality. It's actually one of the most fascinating modalities I've come across. And so we will be talking about where these two worlds collide, canine communication and applied zoopharmacognosy, and how now, to be honest with you, Liga, I couldn't work without applied zoopharmacognosy with canine communication. The two of them are just so connected. I don't know how I've done it for all these years without it. So I guess people that probably would be interested in this would be guardians, rescue groups, which is really important, veterinarians, vet nurses, groomers, trainers, just anybody that's really interested in or works with dogs or is interested in dogs. And during my presentation, I will be giving you a case study. I'm still trying to work out exactly who that's going to be, but I think it's actually going to be a dog that is missing the right front part of her brain that we've been working with, and we didn't know that. And I've sort of been working on and off with her for about six years or something, on and off. And recently we've found this out and the difference that has made. I'll also be talking to you just about just everything, the whole thing with canine communication and applied zoopharmacognosy, really.
That will be so interesting. I can't wait. So thank you, Jenny, for joining me today. It has been a real pleasure learning more about your work and your unique perspective on supporting dogs. So yeah, can't wait. So I think that we will slowly end this live, but I want to remind everybody that this year you can join Pet Dog Trainers of Europe Annual Conference in Latvia. The main topic is dogs with big emotions, and this conference will take place in the end of September, 26th till 28th of September. You can join 2 days, you can join all 3 days. It's up to you. And also, Jenny will join us on Zoom online with her presentation. So reserve and register right now, because until the July 13, it's still early bird price. And then afterwards, it will go a little bit higher up. But yes, thank you everybody for joining us here in live and in recording, watching recording. So thank you, everybody. And I hope to see everybody in Latvia this September and join us this year's Pet Dog Trainers of Europe conference. So thank you. Thank you again, Jenny.
Thanks, Liga, for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.